Mental filter. So this is another unhealthy thinking habit, pattern. Mental filter. It's everything could be going right, but one little detail is off. And rather than feeling good and focusing on the positive, you dwell on the one negative detail. You don't choose what happens to you, but you can choose how to respond. If you filter out all of the positives, you will miss out on all of the great things life has to offer. And that is so true. You can have one little mishap. You'll have something that'll like trigger your anxiety, and you'll be like, "Oh, the whole day's screwed. This is an awful day. I've had like the worst day ever." When in all reality, you haven't. You've actually had an amazing day that had one little bump in the road, but you decide to focus on that bump in the road. And then of course it's going to make things even worse. It's snowball effect. Mental filtering actually makes us more prone to depression and anxiety because think about it. You are completely filtering out any positives that have happened or anything. I mean, you can have a day full of really bad things that have happened to you, but there's always going to be positives, always, no matter what. So if you teach yourself to ponder on the positive instead of the negative, that's what it'll help you. But the problem is that becomes a habit. It is a unhealthy thinking pattern. It's usually a habit that we've developed over the years or as children or whatever it may be. And so habits are hard to break. You have to sit there and literally retrain your brain, retrain the way that you think. And it's really hard to do, especially when you're in this habit of just completely ignoring all of the positive stuff. Now, I've been around people like this. For instance, I know I keep using my boyfriend as an example, but he's the one I'm around most of the time. He's had this issue before. I've brought it up to him a few times in the past, and he's doing way better now, by the way. But where he would we could have like a whole 3 days of awesomeness, and then one day we have not even a day, it's one, I don't know, a 5-minute detour. And all of a sudden, all the good stuff that happened before, nope, non-existent. All of a sudden, every single bad thing that ever happened or any bad thing that has been around, that's all that is seen. That's all that is focused on. If you don't have the capacity to actually focus on the positives, then it's going to be a really hard and difficult life for you. And I'm just being honest. And this is one of those things that you need to really learn and get past. So the mental filter is like having a screen over your mind that obscures the positive aspects of a situation while letting the negative aspects through. Consider this example. Okay. After a walk in the park with a friend, you think back on the experience. If you think to yourself, the weather was so nice and their vacation sounded fun, what a nice time, you'd probably feel happy and satisfied, right? Okay, that's just an example. However, if the mental filter was turned on and you thought, then you would think, well, the children at the park playground were so loud and my friend was 20 minutes late meeting me, blah, 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 blah. You'd likely feel more negatively. Even though both of the above thoughts are about the same time spent in the park, they affect your mood differently. And this is how the mental filtering happen. This is what happens with mental filtering. And you can actually take both those stories and logically think, well, imagine the feeling you get from both stories, right? And I always consider, there's a story that was told a long time ago by Wayne Dyer, I think was his name. But I call it the Grapefruit Story. But it's not all about a grapefruit, but there's just a part of it that's a grapefruit. But he tells a story about this, and it's funny because I always, like with my boyfriend, I'm constantly like, Grapefruit Story. Do you remember the Grapefruit Story? He'll look at me sometimes and be like, whatever, but then then he's like, okay, I get it. And he'll calm down. But and not be so negative. But, so I'll tell you the grapefruit story later. I want to go into this. So how does this end up becoming a problem? So cognitive distortions or unhealthy thinking patterns can have a negative impact on your mood. This is because how we think about things influences how we feel. The mental filter can be unhelpful because the mental filter makes you focus more on negatives than positives. So over time, you can develop an automatic habit of paying attention to negative things more easily, more quickly, and more often. So when something negative happens, instead of you seeing all the positives, you're going to instantly jump to the negative. It's kind of like that story that they tell about the two women that are in prison and they're looking out of a window with bars. And one of them sees only the bars, the other one sees the stars, and it's all about your perception, right? And that's actually an example of the mental filtering. But another way is attention on the negative can easily grow into a generally negative or pessimistic outlook on things, as the example I just said. Paying undeserved attention to the negative can bring on unpleasant emotions like sadness, disappointment, anger, anxiety, fear, and others. It can also worsen your mood, which I'm sure all of us have seen that kind of thing happen. And it's horrible. Like, it's not a good place to be. I remember, honestly, I've never been in that place. I've always been the opposite of that when it comes to the mental filtering. I always focus on the positive. But I've seen it around me so much. Like, oh my God, it's horrible. Now, let me tell you how to change that. There is never going to be an absolute concrete way of getting rid of mental filtering or to prevent your thinking from falling into this common trap. But there are many ways to lessen its impact and to improve how you feel. For example, building awareness and recognition. If you're more aware of the mental filter, that you're doing it, you can notice when it's shaping your thoughts. You can try to shift your perspective. So you can notice, oh, I'm focusing on the negative again, and you can stop yourself and try to quickly focus on something positive, And at the beginning, it might not be that easy because it's a habit. As I said, habits are habits. They're called habits for a reason. But mindfulness practice is one of the most effective ways to improve this awareness. Like, you need to be mindful of your thoughts, of your emotions, of where you're going mentally. Purposely shift your attention to acknowledge more positive. So on purpose, be focusing on positive things. And one way out of the trap of mental filter is to shift your thinking toward the neutral or positive aspects of a situation. And this is something that I know is an issue for not only... Dude, this is an issue in every way for a lot of people. It's hard. These changes can be hard to just do. Changing how we think and pay attention can definitely be challenging. CBT, which y'all have heard of before in different anxiety books, and people have talked about it, I'm sure, so many times. Cognitive behavioral therapy has proven that treatment tools that help to do just that, reducing the impact of unhelpful thinking patterns like the mental filter, is one of the most common focuses of CBT. It is something that you should definitely look into. If you all have read books on it and things, have seen videos on it, good. Try to take those things and practice them. But like I just said, the examples I used, purposely shift your thinking. Be more positive on a positive note. Be more positive in your thinking. Like, be focused more on the positive. And I'm not trying to say be unrealistic. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, when you see negative and positive things, there's always going to be a positive, no matter what you do, no matter who you look at, no matter what situation you're in. Focus on the positive. And I'm telling you, this is going to change your life in so many ways. Not only is it going to help your anxiety and depression, it is also going to help every relationship you're in. It could be your relationship with your parents, with your family. It can be even with in a romantic relationship. It's going to help. So this is something you really need to try to change if this is an issue that you are dealing with or that you do deal with on a daily basis. So yeah, anyway, this is getting pretty long. So love you guys. Remember, you're not alone. And whew, all right. Bye.